Hello, I'm Dr. Howard. We're going to talk today a little bit about exercise, and I'm going to talk about some exercise that you're not very familiar with. It's called a rebounder. Exercising on a rebounder, and it's a very, very beneficial, especially for older people like me. But young people do very well too because they developed its use for the space program. It was used before that some, but mainly it was needed for the space program because they found that the astronauts lost the calcium from their bones in space. They needed gravity. They couldn't heal, and we'll talk about that in another session when I talk about using lights for healing, which is what they developed back in the late 60s and early 70s for use with the astronauts. But today we're going to talk about the rebounder and what it can do for you. A rebounder is sort of like a little trampoline, maybe about 4 feet diameter. And it's good to get one with a bar so that it comes up and across so you can hold on to it. And I sort of knew about it I've heard about it for years, paid no attention. And then one day I was reading Albert Carter's book, and he sort of made rebounders popular. He's a physiologist at this point in his life. But before that, he was a award-winning wrestler. He did a lot of things. But he's written a lot of books on rebounders and made them fairly popular. When I saw his 3-year-old daughter doing one-handed push-ups, I got impressed. I really got impressed by that. Then he explained it in one of his books, and I realized what the meaning, full significance of what this rebounder can do. It moves the lymph system around. It moves the lymph fluid through your body. And if you can move the lymph fluid through your body, you can stay healthy. It's as simple as that. The blood in our body is moved by our heart. It's pumped through our body. The lymph carries waste away from our body. It carries a lot of chemicals around to the different cells, but mostly it helps us detoxify. And it helps the white cells get out of the bloodstream. They go into the lymph system and then move around to the different cells to do what they have to do. We get clogged up. Our lymph system literally gets clogged up. And we got to get it cleaned out. Exercise tends to do that. It moves it bounces us up and down. It moves us around. All exercise does. But exercise can be a little hard on the joints as you get older. And it doesn't do as good a job as a rebounder. Now, I'm not talking about bouncing off the mat. I'm talking about just going up on your toes and down on your heels. Very light. But every time you do that, you reverse by 2 G's. Twice gravity. And what happens is your body, as you're bouncing on that rebounder, because you're bouncing some, but you're just not necessarily leaving the mat. You can if you want to, but you don't have to. And as you're bouncing on that thing, your body decides, well, I'm not sure what's going on, but I better take precautions just in case I'm liable to get hurt or overstrained or whatever. And so your body starts strengthening every cell in the body. It strengthens the lymph cells. The membranes get stronger. It strengthens your muscles. It strengthens your blood cells even. It's the weirdest thing I've ever heard of, but it seems to work. And if you want to get over a chronic illness, get a rebounder. There's a story in one of Albert Carter's books about a man who had a heart condition, and his wife was bedridden. And he got a rebounder. He read about what it can do, and he got a rebounder, and he every day he would started carrying his wife out of the bedroom, even though he had a heart condition, and putting her by the rebounder. I think first he put her feet on it while she sat in a chair, and he got on there and just bounced gently. So he couldn't, with his heart condition, he couldn't bounce very rigorously. But he did this every day, and he had her, after a while, he had her sitting on the rebounder while he bounced. And he got her moving. It just got her moving. So he put movement into her body and got the lymph fluid moving. And then he eventually, she was able to stand up and hold the bar while he bounced. Well, eventually, she was able to bounce by herself. And within a year, she was bouncing by herself and moving around pretty well. And he was bouncing by himself. Sure, they sometimes bounced together. And he didn't have a heart condition anymore, and she wasn't bedridden. Well, it's a nice story. It's in a book. You figure, well, books are like this. And I had been in real estate for a while at one time. And I was reminded that I knew a man in this area who got a rebounder because his wife got bedridden and he wanted to help her. So he did exactly what they said in the book. And sure enough, within a year, she was all better, moving around, bouncing by herself. I've got one. We had one in the house I wasn't using, but once I read the book, saw a picture of a 3-year-old doing one-handed push-ups, I decided it might not be a bad idea. And I had heart surgery about 1.5 years ago. That's another story. But anyway, when they sort of move your chest ribs apart and start working on your heart, it stretches everything in here, and they hurt. And a year later, they're still hurting. In fact, they don't hurt so bad up front. It's a year later, when you're starting to use your body pretty much, that it starts getting worse. So I got on the rebounder, and I took some 1-pound weights, and I started moving them around, slowly at first. And the pain went out of the shoulders. The shoulders, which I couldn't lift past here, I can lift up to here. No problem. And some infections went out of the body. It got the lymph system moving. And lo and behold, the boils formed under my armpit. And then drained. It got the white blood cells moving and got them strengthened so that they could get rid of a latent infection that I didn't even know I have. It's gone. I'd advise you to get a rebounder, even if you're doing other exercises. Get the best one that you can. The best one you can afford. Because I've done some reading about them, and some of the cheap ones, the springs break, and you don't want to be on them if the spring breaks. It's apparently pretty uncomfortable, and you can get hurt. The low-end ones are $60, $70, $50. The high-end ones are about $300, $400, and make sure you get a stabilizing bar. The nice thing about the exercise on the rebounder is you only have to do it about 2 or 3 minutes, maybe 3 times a day, to stay in great shape. And for somebody my age, I'm 74 now, it's nice to be able to get into great shape pretty easily. And I still do Tai Chi, and I still do some other things. But mostly, I do a rebounder. God bless you. We'll talk again. Take care.